My name is Helen Martin. I'm 80 years old. I retired at 66, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about one question that most people around my age never asked early enough. Did I wait too long to start living the life I worked so hard to build? That question bothered me more than money ever did. You see, I know what it means to work, to save, to build, to raise children, to hold a marriage together, and to keep moving even when my body was tired and my mind was full. But one day I looked at my life with real honesty, and I realized something that shook me. The biggest retirement mistake is not always running out of money. Sometimes the biggest mistake is running out of healthy time. I didn't know it at the time, but that truth changes everything. It changes how I look at work. It changes how I look at health. It changes how I look at saving, spending, marriage, and the little choices I make every single day. Let me explain, because once I understood this, I could not unsee it, and I do not want you to miss what I almost missed. I spent most of my life being careful. I was the kind of woman who planned before I moved. I was raised in a small house where every dollar mattered. So I learned early that life does not reward carelessness for very long. I built a business. I bought property. I invested. I stayed married. I kept a close eye on what came in and what went out. From the outside, I looked like the kind of woman who had retirement figured out. Honestly, in many ways I did. By the time I stepped away from work, I had enough income, enough savings, enough structure, and enough discipline to live well. But that was only one side of the story. The other side had to do with time. Healthy time. Active time. Good years. The years when I could travel without pain, get on a plane without needing 3 recovery days, dance with my husband, walk through a city, tend my garden, carry my own bags, and sit at a table with my family, feeling fully present instead of just managing discomfort. That was the part I had not measured clearly enough. And here's what I didn't understand then. I had spent decades planning for how long my money would last, but I had not spent enough time thinking about how long my health would last. When I finally started looking into that, I felt a chill go through me. I learned about something called healthy life expectancy. Not just how long I might live, but how long I might stay healthy enough to truly enjoy my life. That is a very different number. A lot of people hear life expectancy and feel comfort. They think, well, I may live into my late 70s or 80s, maybe even longer. But that is not the same as saying, I will feel good, move well, think clearly, and live independently that whole time. You know what surprised me most? The difference between being alive and being well can be bigger than most people ever prepare for. When I saw the numbers laid out in a simple way, I understood why this matters so much. I saw that in some countries, people stayed healthy into their 70s. Japan was at the top, around 74. Singapore was close behind. Korea, Switzerland, Cyprus, Israel, Spain, France, Iceland, Italy. Country after country came before the United States. And when I finally got to the number for the United States, I had to sit still for a minute. About 66 years old, just a little over 66. That hit me hard, because many Americans still think of 65 as the normal retirement age. I know I did for a long time. So I asked myself a very simple question. If many people retire at 65, and their healthy years may start falling apart around 66, what exactly are they waiting for? I am not saying every person loses their health at 66. I am not saying I did. I am not saying you will. These are averages, not prophecies. But averages matter because they force me to face reality instead of fantasy. They force me to stop saying, that will probably happen to someone else. They force me to stop assuming I have endless time. Let me tell you something nobody told me at your age. Retirement planning is not just about stacking enough money to stop working. It is about making sure I still have enough life left to enjoy the freedom I spent all those years buying. I started thinking about the people I knew. I thought about the men in my family. I thought about the women, too. I thought about who had stayed strong and who had not. I thought about the ones who worked and worked and worked, then finally slowed down, only to get sick right after. I thought about how often I had heard some version of the same sad line. I was just getting ready to enjoy myself. That sentence has weight when you are older. It means the plan was there, but the body did not cooperate. It means the dream was delayed just a little too long. It means someone assumed there would be more time than there was. I took it personally because my own family history gave me reasons to pay attention. I come from people who were strong in spirit, but not always spared from physical trouble. I watched heart problems cast a shadow over the men in my family. I saw what fear looked like around doctors, hospitals, and test results. I learned that family history may not control everything, but it should never be ignored. So I stopped talking to myself in general terms. I stopped saying people. I started saying me. I asked, what risks do I carry? What patterns run through my family? What do I need to watch now instead of later? That shift made me more honest. It also made me more responsible. Then I looked at another pattern that made things even more serious. More people are retiring later, not earlier. Fewer people are retired in their late 50s and early 60s than before. A lot of people are still working between 65 and 69. Some are still working in their 70s, some even later. Now, I know some people work because they love it. I understand that. I have always liked being useful. I like purpose. I like structure. I like having a reason to get dressed and show up well. But many people are not working longer because it fills their soul. Many are working longer because they have to. And that is a very dangerous place to be if their health is already getting worse. You see, There is a difference between choosing to work and being forced to keep working. I respect the first one. I worry about the second one. If I choose to keep working because I enjoy it, that is one thing. If I must keep working because I did not plan, because I spent too much, because I never invested, because I took on obligations I could not really afford, that is something else entirely. And when I put that together with the idea of healthy life expectancy, I felt a new kind of urgency. Not panic, urgency. A clean, honest, steady urgency. That urgency changed how I thought about health first. I have spent my life respecting money, but age taught me something money cannot hide. My health matters more than my wealth. Wealth can support health, yes. It can buy better food, better care, better rest, better choices. But money without health has limits. So I became even more serious about the simple things. I watched what I ate. I chose good food over easy food. I did not pretend cheap fast food was harmless just because it was convenient. I stayed active. I walked. I practiced Tai Chi. I kept moving. I paid attention to my strength because muscle matters more with age than many people realize. I did not need to look like a bodybuilder. I just needed to remain capable. Honestly, that word matters to me now. Capable. I want to remain capable for as long as I can. I want to carry groceries. I want to get out of a chair easily. I want to travel. I want to lift a suitcase. I want to climb steps without planning my whole breath around it. I want to live in my own body with some confidence. And here's what I didn't understand then. Every year I delay taking care of my health, I may be shrinking the very retirement I claim to be protecting. I also learned that health is not something I can fix with one dramatic move. I cannot neglect myself for 20 years and then expect one gym membership to erase the damage. I cannot live on stress, sugar, drive-through meals, bad sleep, and wishful thinking, then act shocked when my body sends me a bill. So I learned to respect repetition. A walk matters. A better breakfast matters. Strength work matters. Rest matters. Checkups matter. Water matters. Small choices repeated long enough become my future. The second thing that changed for me was financial planning. I began asking a different question. Not just, when can I afford to retire? I asked, what would it take for me to retire earlier if I wanted to? Even if I did not leave work at 55, asking the question changed my behavior. It made me more deliberate. It pushed me to build a real plan instead of living on assumptions. So many people think early retirement is impossible before they ever do the math. Sometimes it is impossible. Sometimes it is not. But many people never even give themselves the dignity of a serious plan. In my life, the foundation was always simple. I had to spend less than I earned. That sounds basic, because it is basic. But basic does not mean easy. I have known people with high incomes who saved almost nothing. I have known people who looked successful and were financially weak underneath the surface. Income alone does not build freedom. Margin builds freedom. Saving builds freedom. Investing builds freedom. Time builds freedom. I learned that as a young woman, and I never forgot it. When Paul and I were young, we lived below what we could have afforded. We did not chase every upgrade. We let other people buy appearances while we bought options. I am grateful for that now. I also learned that saving alone is not enough. Money sitting still can only do so much. It has to be invested. It has to be given work to do. That lesson changed my life. I saw owners live differently from workers. That did not mean workers were lesser. It meant ownership created leverage. It meant I needed assets, not just income. So I built them. Slowly at first, then steadily, then with conviction. There are two other rules I came to respect, and I say them with care, because life is not neat. One house, one spouse. Life does not always go according to plan, and I do not judge people whose stories turned out differently. But I know that too many houses can drain money, and too much instability at home can drain more than money. A second home sounds glamorous until the taxes, maintenance, repairs, and fees arrive. Relationship chaos can do the same kind of damage in another form. I know marriage takes work. Mine did too. Paul and I had hard seasons. We did not glide through 56 years smiling every day. We got help when we needed it. We invested in the relationship because losing it would have cost us emotionally and financially. Let me explain why this matters in retirement. Every big leak in life makes retirement harder. Too much house, too much debt, too much emotional upheaval, too much spending to impress people, too little planning. These things do not always ruin a life at once. Sometimes they simply delay freedom, year after year, until one day a person wakes up at 67, still tired, still working, still hoping someday will come later. Then there is investing, and this is where many people get distracted by the wrong thing. They think success comes mostly from picking the right stock, finding the winner, getting lucky with timing. I used to understand why that idea sounded so convincing. It sounds exciting. It sounds smart. But over time, I learned that one of the biggest drivers of long-term success is asset allocation. How much is in stocks? How much is in bonds? How much risk I can actually live with, not just talk about when the market is calm. I didn't know it at the time, but emotional risk is just as real as mathematical risk. People often believe they can stay calm until the market falls hard. Then fear takes over. I know this because I lived through enough market pain to learn humility. I made mistakes. I sold things I should have held. I felt that sick feeling of watching values fall and wondering if more pain was coming. I know how loud fear can get when numbers turn red. That is why I no longer trust bravado. I trust preparation. I have lived long enough to know that experience has value. Someone who has seen families move through crashes, recessions, fear, and recovery can often help me avoid my own worst instincts. That kind of guidance is not magic. It is perspective. And in retirement planning, perspective can save years of regret. I am not giving personal financial advice here. I am simply telling you what I came to respect. A thoughtful plan, a realistic allocation, and a steady hand matter more than excitement. But the deepest lesson for me was not about charts or bonds or percentages. It was about urgency, a healthy urgency. I started thinking in weeks, not just years. When I turned 60, I realized that most of us have fewer than 1,000 healthy, active weeks left. 1,000 sounds like a lot until I picture how quickly weeks disappear. 1 week becomes a month becomes a season becomes a year. Then I look up and another grandchild is grown. You know what surprised me most? Thinking in weeks made me more honest than thinking in decades ever did. Decades feel roomy. Weeks feel real. Weeks make me ask better questions. Am I living well now? Am I delaying joy for no reason? Am I caring for my body? Am I spending time on what matters? Am I still telling myself I will do it later? That question, later, can steal a life. Later I will travel. Later I will slow down. Later I will take care of myself. Later I will mend the marriage. Later I will get serious about saving. Later I will start investing. Later I will enjoy what I built. I have heard later all my life. Later is one of the most expensive words I know. I do not say any of this to frighten you. I say it because I wish more people understood it sooner. I worked hard. I am proud of that. I built wealth. I am grateful for that. But at 80, the greatest luxury is not money. It is time with enough strength to enjoy it. Time to walk with Paul. Time to talk to my grandchildren. Time to dance a little, travel a little, read in peace, sit on my porch, breathe, and know I did not postpone my whole life until my body was too tired to join me. So if this story sounds familiar, if you have been telling yourself you will think about retirement later, or get serious about your health later, or build the plan later, please do not brush this aside. Sit with it. Run the numbers. Look at your family history. Look honestly at your own habits. Protect your health like it matters more than your paycheck, because one day it will. Build margin. Save. Invest. Simplify. Be deliberate. Talk to a professional if you need help building a plan that fits your real life, because guessing is not a strategy. Honestly, I do not want you to admire my story and do nothing with it. I want you to use it. I want you to talk with your spouse, open the statements, make the appointment, take the walk, and start treating your remaining healthy years like they are valuable now. And if this gave you something real to think about, stay with me, leave me a comment, and tell me what age you want freedom, not just what age you think you are supposed to retire. Subscribe if you want more stories like this, because I have learned some lessons the hard way, and I would rather hand them to you gently. And if this opened your eyes, then the next conversation you need is the one about why retiring as soon as you truly can may matter more than you ever realized. That is where this leads. That is the next step. And I hope you take it before later turns into too late.